It's just distractions. It's anything. Put it this way. You can just look at it like you can just draw a line right down the middle. You know what I mean? It's the true self and the false self. You know. So the false self is anything outside of your inner thought, your inner being, your soul. You know. Is the false self. It's distraction. But it's also experiences, external experiences. You know, and see, everything's not necessarily distracted. There's some things though that's outside of you, but that helps you, that help to turn inward for you to start building and figuring out and understanding, you know, your true self. That still comes from the outside, so to speak. That still comes from the lower realm. There's still these aspects or these breadcrumbs that's outside of you that if you pay attention to them, they can point you back inward to your inward divinity. But they don't remember I was telling you, like, there's people graduate, and you know by their conversations when they've graduated from, say, looking at Tahuti, like, oh, that's a demonic thing, or the Baphomet is demonic, to then starting to study and then find out, then it becomes their deity, so to speak. But then as they go deeper and deeper and deeper, then they understand, no, it's not a deity. It's just a piece of information that helped me to understand who I truly am. And when you use it, when you graduate to that level, then you know it too is just a part of this particular mundane construct. It's not real either. Tahuti is not real either in that way. You know, the information is only, information is duality too. You know, some people will, like I said, they'll react one extreme way, and somebody else will react the other extreme way. So even any information like Gnosticism, for example, what you're getting into and understanding Gnosticism or the Gnostic Christ and all this or whatever, you know what I mean, or aeons or anything, those are just window dressing for your experience. And the window dressing for most people, they stuck in the window, looking at the thing, giving value or giving credence to these things outside of you, where they still hold them in high esteem or a higher esteem than how they value themselves. You know, whereas the information like Buddha, Krishna, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, whatever system you in, the E5 system with Oladamare, Obatala, whatever, you know what I mean, Yemen Ya, you know, Ogun, Oshun, those are just, how can I say, they become different, their colors change based on your mind, and you know, you elevating, and you elevating yourself. Those things, I said, they go from a mysterious, scary thing to a thing that you didn't understand, and then you think it's a God force, so to speak, to when you understand it deeper, you know, nope, it was nothing but a material spin-off of this existence. And then you transcend it, and now you're above it, and it doesn't, and you're not held under the thumb of that concept. It's the same thing. It's like it's going up escalators, you know, going up an elevator from one level to the next. No different than in church. You know, same thing. We was in the church, we were the same thing. Like, it's almost like this. Like if you write the number 6 down on the ground, and then you walk around to the top of it, then you look at it, now it's a number 9. You see what I'm saying? And that's what this is. It's these things are just, they're only relative to your level of enlightenment. You know, but there are outside of you, like Doug said. Everything is outside of you. And anything outside of you is not real. Basically, nothing outside of you is truly real. to that same dynamic, that same relationship, that same orientation to that thing until you elevate. Just like kids. Just like when you learn how to tie your shoes, that's the biggest, man, that shit is just the biggest mountain you could climb as a little kid.
Yeah.
So you would never, it's so big, such a big deal to you. Or playing ball when I first, cause laying out with my left hand. And I'm showing all the upperclassmen. I'm in 7th grade, I'm showing the 8th graders, the 9th graders, the 10th graders, like, look. But then, as you grow and evolve and transform, it's nothing no more. the thing that is so overwhelmingly significant to you in your evolution and transformation, they are supposed to fall off. They're supposed to fall to the wayside. And then you move on to the next level of understanding, the next, you just keep graduating, keep on. And because it's always going to be, you're always going to come across another, let's say hurdle, but just another unknown, another thing that you didn't know about or wasn't aware about or was afraid to explore. But because you start to get so many reps at this, now it's no longer you see a scary image on a book and the title is kind of weird. You no longer have that, oh shit, hell nah, I ain't doing that. You now, like, everything has, especially esoteric stuff, especially high level stuff, it always has the scary physical persona, or attributes.
Like Baphomet.
Yes, and that's by design. But that's by design. That's by design. You're not supposed to. It's not supposed to be. You already come from the pretty packaged, warm, fuzzy stories or symbols or images. You've already come from that. And what they do for you? Nothing. They didn't do anything for you. You couldn't grow from that perspective. But so now you get comfortable. Now you see something that has a mystique to it or whatever, or people saying it's demonic or whatever. They don't even faze you in that way anymore. You're like, either I'm gonna look into it or I'm not. But I'm not gonna just label it as something scary or demonic or whatever, like I was programmed to do. We're programmed for that. You know what I mean? Like that, and then you deprogram yourself. Now, ain't nothing you can be scared of. There's nothing out here that you're afraid to study, because all of it is it's really nothing. If it's outside of you, it's nothing, and it can't hurt you unless you give it the authority to hurt you, or spin you. You know what I mean? Deceive you, or whatever.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, even like the word occult, if you would have asked me,
me too,
years ago, I'm like, nah, I ain't looking at nothing called the occult.
Exactly. Me too. I was the same way. When I first started thinking, like, what? An occultist? Especially when they call themselves an occultist. That's really even more scary. You're like, what the? Oh no, I ain't trying to do that. And then, but understanding etymology, understanding furthermore, occult is just hidden culture. That's all.
Right, the study of the mysterious.
Yeah, the study of the unseen, hidden culture, hidden study of something that you just don't know nothing about. That's occult. And that could be in basketball. That could be in anything. You know what I mean? Something that you don't know about. That's all. It's just something that you don't use. It's a hidden culture. Just like the NBA has a hidden culture that we don't really know about. For real. But it's nothing to be. It ain't nothing to trip on. Once you get your spiritual weight up, shit, man, you're like, it ain't nothing. That's why, in the videos I sent you, when you talk about the afterlife, you're building up a mindset that nothing no longer scares you. Because that's the first thing or I ain't gonna say the first thing, but the probability of you coming across a so-called scary scenario or scary entity in the afterlife could happen. But if you already absolutely know in your heart, because you did the work here, you're like, it ain't nothing. And plus, even on a fundamental level, if you know you have dreams, I don't know if you ever had dreams that you could just change the dream up because you don't like it. You know what I mean? You're like, I'm out of here. I don't like this. That's it. That's you do that there. The problem is,
it happens more than you believe for me.
What'd you say?
It happens quite a bit.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, the problem is if you now if you passed on and you know you passed on, but you see Christ or so-called Peter or whoever, that's a projection of your mind as well. And if you built that deity up or that person up from the Bible or whatever, now they're gonna get you. That and you're really just getting yourself, because it's only your mind, and that's what's so hard for people to really grasp. It's your mind. So the things that can fuck you up and to trick you out of your position for you to end up coming right back down to another reincarnation is because you don't know, you're not keenly aware that these are just things that I've raised up in my mind, and I've given them so much value that they have authority over me. They have authority over me. How they told me what morality is, how I look at morality. If I haven't overcome morality on a human level, they're going to get me with the morality in the afterlife. And then it's going to shoot your ass right back down here, because you're going to feel guilty, you're going to feel bad, you're going to feel like, oh, damn, I need to go back and fix that. When the reality of it is, if you have a dream and you kill somebody in that dream, and then you wake up, you might be nervous, be shaking or whatever until you kind of settle back into yourself. There's nothing in your mind or in your psyche that you feel like you need to go back into the dream world and redeem that action. You keep it in its place. It was just a dream. And that's how you have to put humanity and this experience into that perspective as well. That shit didn't happen. Like I told you before all the time, I say, the Vols of Ma'at is about what you never did because you're too pristine for it. Your soul can't come down here to do that shit. Your soul can't come and do that. So, if you don't understand that, and you attach to your human aspect of self, then yeah, you gonna be like, oh man, yeah, and then Peter or John or somebody, or John the Baptist, whoever tell you, yeah, Mark, you need to go back down there and you need to go back and redeem yourself. You left the church. You stopped believing in me. So we're going to give you another chance to go down, live a righteous life, Christian life, whatever. And then when you come back, then you can go in through the door behind us. You can go in and go into the afterlife or so-called heaven or whatever. And again, it's still in your mind. All these constructs are in your mind. You built up this thing that is Christ, and he has to let us through the door to the afterlife. But that's still in our minds because we raised it up, we agreed to it, we adopted it. Whatever it's not in your psyche, you're not going to experience it in the afterlife because it's only your mind that you're experiencing. So like for example, if certain Asian cultures or certain whatever cultures have certain kind of demons, right? You're never going to see those because they're not in your mind, they're not in your psyche. They're not in your, they're not in your culture. They don't have nothing to do with none of that shit. But the people who have built that up in their minds and in their experience, or whatever, then yeah, that's they're going to come across things like that, good and bad, things that they built up. So yeah, that's a good one though. What's outside of you? If the kingdom of God is inside, that's a good one.
Yeah. Well, you talked about being sent back here. Another conversation I was having with Doug was And I couldn't articulate like you when we were talking about reincarnation and the bike chain on the bike.
Yes.
You remember?
Okay, yes.
And I'll let you do that.
Yeah. So basically, can I even give even a simpler? I use the bike chain, or I use cogs and wheels because they have the individual like on a bike, like on the pedal, the wheel that's connected to the pedal, and that wheel has those individual metal pieces sticking up all around it, right? Those metal pieces represent individuality, or us as just people in general. Those little spikes that catches the chain when it comes around, that's us as individuals. When you're slowly spinning those pedals around, when those little notches have come around to a point where they're no longer pulling the chain, and you can see them, that's your incarnation. That's when you become individual again. You're incarnated. You're in the physical realm. And as it slowly goes around, and then goes back up, and then picks that chain back up again and starts pulling that chain around, now that's the soul aspect of yourself. And so the wheel, and because you asked this too before, like, how is the afterlife, or how is the true soul connected to us in the physical world? Because you are still on that wheel. You're still on that mechanism that continues to turn. It's just sometimes you're hidden, so you're in the chain itself, pulling the chain around, and then when you come out, now you're not hidden in that chain no more. You're born again. You're now an individual. When you incarnate, you become an individual. You're not quite holistic. Even though you're connected to the whole, you're not holistic mind-wise and spirit-wise. So you just have to understand that about yourself. When that little those little things that stick out of the chain, sticking out of the pedal wheel, that's your individuality. Or when you look at a clock, the back of a clock, it's the same thing happening. When those cogs, when they interlock with each other, that's this kind of, when the small cog interlocks with the bigger cog. So you can look at the bigger cog as the soul, and that small cog that's connected to it, that's spinning as well, is considered earth or incarnation. So only when those cogs are interlocked, it's back to soul. It's out of the body. You're out of the physical world. When this cog spins around.
That's similar to like being awake and then asleep though.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So when you spin out of that cog, or now you can see the individual notches on the cog. When it comes around, so you can see the individual notches. Those notches are actually their sleep, because you're sleeping and dreaming outwardly in this realm. When it goes back around and now it's touching the big wheel, the cogs start to go back into the big wheel and move the big wheel around. The big wheel, that's the soul. So you're going, but you're still connected to it always. The small cog is always connected to the big cog. But when you're sleeping is when you, like now, you're sleeping. When you leave the physical body, now you're awake. Now you're awake. You sleep here.
So the discussion was more about, when the physical body dies, the soul leaves the body. So the word can't. Well, this is one of the parts of the conversation. So when your soul leaves, it returns back to its about this on a Thursday night call as well. And I think you explained it, but I keep bringing it up. Same thing.
That's cool.
The fact that if you're unaware or refuse to accept reincarnation, how can you live that out if you don't have the belief that it's around? If you're not even aware of that while you're in the physical form.
Right.
Because you're controlling still how the soul operates. That's why everybody's fighting for your soul. You control how that soul operates, and you're kind of responsible for it, how it's gonna proceed afterwards and until it leaves the physical body, based on what you do during that time.
Right.
So how do you control, or do you participate in the reincarnation if you have no belief whatsoever in it?
Yeah, if you don't have no belief, so it's like this. You don't necessarily have to have belief or not. It's all about what you know. Remember, consciousness and enlightenment is your awareness of things. So the reason why Gnosticism, not just Gnosticism, all that shit, Hindu shit, Buddhist, all of it, it's the same. You are, what did I say? If you're not aware, the only thing you know is humanity. If humanity is the only thing you know and the only thing you identify with, and you only identify with yourself as Doug, and everything that all of those, the general construct of your incarnation or many incarnation, then that's why these systems say most people already, without even a fight, get reincarnated because their awareness, they don't have nothing on the vision board beyond physical experiences and incarnation. They don't have anything because remember, all is mind. The mind is all. It's the first law. So if your mind is only predicated to physical experiences and earthly experiences and humanity, if that's all you know, then that's why we talk about people incarnate many times before they get what? An awakening. Or even not necessarily a full awakening, you just get these little nudges. Your true self is trying to nudge you. That's the divine spark. It's just a spark though. It's not a fire. It's a spark. It's trying to nudge you to say, I don't know about this church thing, or I feel like it's something else I might need to know. That's the divine spark. What happens is most people, they'll strike that match, it'll spark and it won't light. They'll put the matchbook back together, put it back in their pocket, and they might not strike it. It might not, that conscience may not nudge you again for 3 months, a year, you know what I mean, 2 years. And so that's when you talk about Nazism, talk about Sophia, you're talking about this divinity that's in all of us, but we have to engage it. We have to take that little spark and build on it. We have to build on it. We have to engage it. And then what happens is that little whisper, that little so-called Holy Spirit is really the Holy You, is you start engaging more and more. Now it starts to speak louder to you. And now you start to engage it more and more. You know what I mean? And now every time that thing says something inside, you write on it. Like, okay, if I ain't on it right now, I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna get back to it. You know what I mean? Because I know what that is. I know what's happening when I have those types of thoughts. Because I know when I've engaged those thoughts, similar thoughts like that, it has helped to elevate me.
So what you're saying is, when any of us get to that point where our physical body guys, when it comes to that moment or that time, the goal is not to reincarnate. So you want to be like, nah, I don't care what you're saying, I ain't going back.
Yeah, yes. But that's for. Now it's two scenarios. That one scenario is, now there is a such thing as, and there are people that I know that are aware, so they know they came down here to do specific work. They didn't really want to do it, but they agreed to come down here to do certain work and then go back. So, but that's a conscious person. And so more importantly, remember, I don't know, years ago I talked about reincarnation, and it's much deeper. So there's different rights of reincarnation. There's the red right, the black right, and the white right of reincarnation. So these are different types of ways that you incarnate that people are totally unaware of. You know, some people be like, oh, ain't no such thing as reincarnation. Nigga, you ain't studying nothing. You know what I mean? What you talking about? You just having an opinion. You ain't cracked one book on this shit. You know what I mean? And so those are just, there's different types of reincarnation. So there's a type of reincarnation that's conscious. And that reincarnation is saying, I'm going to reincarnate in a certain type of family with a certain kind of knowledge. Or I'm going to reincarnate in an environment that I can pick up where I left off. Or with my, from a knowledge perspective. I can pick up where I left off based upon awareness or understanding of symbols. That's why symbols transcend humanity. You know, symbols and vibrations and things, they transcend humanity. You know, so that's a way to move to move beyond as well. You know. So it's about an individual's level of awareness. If you're not aware, then all you are is human. The Kamites say this. Listen, basically they're saying this: do not get down there and become human. That shit is. You think about that, it's like, damn, that's just crazy. But that's the challenge here. This is a school. This is a place for work. This is a place for quickening the soul. This is a place for transformation and enlightenment. And you have to do that through the cultivation of really the true self and the mind. You know. So what happens though is most people aren't cultivating that part of themselves. So humanity is all they know and all they're ever going to know until they entertain that divine spark. Or you're going to, and see, that's the thing about religion. Religion keeps you human even in the story of you going to heaven. You're still heaven. You still have
that's where the conversation actually started out about the soul because of that.
Okay.
You're still human going. You think you're still human going to heaven, but
yeah.
if the physical body dies and the soul leaves, then the body is not going to be reawakened with a soul that's already gone back to its origin.
Right.
It just can't happen.
Right.
And you won't even recognize your loved one. You won't even know because you're in the spirit now, so nobody's ever reconnecting.
Yeah. I mean, you could recognize them, but you recognize them for who they are. You see, you're really recognizing them as NPCs because you know, NPC is like, if you ever play like you play like a PlayStation game, basketball, football, whatever, or you play like what is it, Call of Duty or whatever, you know, and you see some characters in there, they don't really have souls. They're not really, nobody is controlling them online. They say an online game, and then some of them is real people behind them, and then some people are just NPCs. They're just shells. They're vessels with no soul inside. They have no connection. You see?
Mm.
and so
Isn't that the goal to have though? Isn't that the way to be able to be unattached?
yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So you can recognize like if you go back and look at that movie Inception, right? There's a part in there where Leonardo DiCaprio, he's sitting down with dude, and dude is, and while he's trying to give Leonardo DiCaprio the blueprint and talk him through pretty much his transformation, he's hallucinating. You see also on the screen, you see a faint other storyline of like you looking at how he's thinking, what he's imagining in his mind, and he's drifting off, and he's thinking about when he's playing with his kids. He's playing with his kids, right? And what he's and so what he's doing is he's slipping. He's slipping because he's starting to give in to thinking that shit was real. See, that's what I'm saying. You still can recognize people. The thing is understanding who they really are and who they're not, and what they really are and what they're not. And so he was like, like you getting weak, man, because like that's not real.
So that was part of the conversation. When we talk about talking with our ancestors, and I actually thought about you when you talked about when you were talking to your cousin who passed.
Yes.
But so, what am I trying to say, Doug? As far as the ancestors, because we were talking that if a physical body dies, how are we going to recognize people?
Well, he just cleared it up though when he just said that you can't recognize them for who they truly are.
Yes.
When you recognize for who they truly are, then you can connect. You still should be able to connect with your ancestors.
Yes.
For that, I didn't think they would know. I didn't think I'd be able to recognize since he was going back to the soul, because the remembrance really comes from more of a physical aspect of the brain instead of a spiritual or a soul being there for that.
Yeah. So right, but see, you have to. How can I say, like? Wow, it is deep. It's deep to really. It's hard to break down. So when I saw my cousin, for example, or when I channel grandma, right, or panic, you're channeling their essence. Right? You're channeling their essence. You're channeling no different than if my dad said, like, if my dad my dad was a heavy musician.
Got me on that one night. Girl, I wanna know how this
and so if I channel my dad, I'm dealing with aspects or fragments of what I identified with, or whatever my experience was with him. So it's the essence energy that I'm dealing with, and I can, and you can, and we can use that experience, but at the same time understand that he's really not, like he's moved on as an individual, or it's not really about him. And from a human standpoint, it's the essence that you still benefit from, or anybody you even study. Sheikh Annie Diop, Dr. Ben, Dr. Williams, Dr. Yochanan, Dr. Clark, whoever. Those are still, it's so hard to really articulate. Those are still, they ultimately become aspects of your mind because they were enlightening to you. They have value. So even though they're not in the physical body anymore and they moved on, you're interfacing with that essence. You're interfacing with that. Just like if you dealt with a bully growing up, and then you see that bully in the afterlife, because it's a negative experience. So that's a part of your psyche, and that's in your mind, and the deck knows that they ain't real. They don't have no power over you or nothing. A person that's in a human mindset, they still think that person is stronger, can beat them up, can do whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because it's your orientation to humanity itself, and your orientation to the human experience is what either traps you, has you stuck, or you can, transcend it because you understand the construct. The reason I talk to certain people, I don't talk to a lot of people about Gnosticism at all. I really don't talk to people about Gnosticism because even like when me and Mark was on the call a month or so ago, we were talking. We can tell like they weren't really getting it.
Yeah.
To a point where I say getting it, just like to a point because I know they don't know anything about navigating the afterlife like that. So it's like if you know, or even come across some information that, or even a Cam might say, hey, don't get down there and become human, and all the other things that go with your, kind of go along the line, then you know that, yeah, like I have to cultivate a certain mindset that transcends the human entrapments. The human mind traps you. It can trap you, and that's what it's set up to do. It's set up to trap you. That's what it is. That's because you have to go back to Yaldabaoth. What kind of creation is it in the first place? What kind of creation is this in the first place? And if it's not, then if you know it's a creation that's really set up to keep feeding off your energy for the eons of years, then you know that you're trying to get outside of the circles of time. You're trying to get outside of this type of construct and into a construct that's more infinite, that's more evolved, that doesn't have certain duality in it. Certain human behavior, because all of those are jealousy, gluttony, greed, envy, all of those that's human shit. So when you're trying to move beyond to it, you're trying to move into a dimension where that doesn't exist. And unfortunately, this whole universe is your prison. It can be your prison or it can be your school. If it's not your school, it's your prison.
It's your hell.
Yeah, it's your hell. It's your hell too, yeah. Hell is the absence of... Mentally, hell is the absence of your awareness of the true self. That's all hell is. Hell is you thinking that you are human only. And so where do humans dwell? In the Ha'il, which is also where hell comes from. It's Ha'il, Earth, planet, planetary. So your mind is hellish. So you need to live this is where you need to live. You need to live in hell because your mind is hellish. Because your mind is absent of its true self. Becoming human, getting down here and becoming human, having only human thoughts only is hell. Just keep on recycling until you don't, until you engage that divine spark. I remember that shit vividly. I remember the day I was in New York. It was 1999, and it came to me. It was like, yo, you need to look beyond the veil. You need to start studying shit. You need to really seriously look into what this is. What this earth is, what this planet is, what is the universe, what are you, who are you, what are you in? And I entertained it. It's how I got out of it. But that's that divine spark that I didn't just put the matchbook back in my pocket. I went and ultimately set a fire with it.
That is wow. That's crazy. Because and with that analogy, what I'm thinking about myself is all those years ago, you handed me the matchbook.
Yeah,
And
actually,
I put it in my pocket.
You know what? I
And
didn't. You have your own matchbook. You had
Right,
curiosities.
okay.
You had
Yeah.
curiosity that was coming from inside of you, and they were genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
And then
genuine. Go ahead.
And then when I was in that hospital and got COVID, thinking I was about to die, the match was fully lit. Fully lit. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, but yeah, that was you. You know, you always want to make sure you want to take full credit for your transformation. That's why I say you can teach around this information, but you can't really teach a person this. You can only lead them to you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. It's the same thing. I can lead you, so I can show you all of the trimmings, you study Gnosticism, I could help you in that. If you study Zoroastrianism, I can teach you. If you're a Christian, and if you're a Buddhist, I can teach you. If you're Hindu, I can teach you. Whatever it is. If you Muslim, I could teach you the esoteric shit. But but for you to become enlightened, that shit comes genuinely from you. Yeah. So yeah, man, you know.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I think I said, Doug, get in bed, or you about to get in the bed?
Well, I'm good.
You good? Okay.
I'm good, man. It's I don't know. You know, as you become more conscious, more stuff just come across your brain.
All day.
So
yeah, all day, bro. All day. Yep.
Yes, I also talked about the not even duality, but how life runs in parallels. Like you got so many different events happening in your life at the same time on different planes.
Yes.
That depending on what you want the outcome or what life you're trying to live is what actually happens.
Yes. Yeah, that's deep too. But yes. Yeah, that's a deep one right there.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
That's why you gotta control your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely get into that on another conversation, because that's quantum. What is it? Quantum physics. It's quantum something else too. I forgot what the term is. I think it's quantum. No, one of the terms is quantum.
I don't even know how that thought even came across my brain.
There's many different. There's many different versions of the life you're living.
Yeah.
But it's just that the one that you're aware of is the one that you put your consciousness in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other ones are really NPCs. For real.
Yeah. I guess so, yeah.
You know what I mean? Or they're slots for you to incarnate into. You know, different versions of self, of NPC selves that, you know, you can either come into an awakening or just going to stay stuck in this construct. But see, the thing is this construct is supposed to be, how can I say? Like in some systems, they're not as heavy-handed against humanity as Gnosticism. They're still against humanity and incarnation and all that, but they're not quite as heavy-handed in that way with it. So I forgot what I was about to say something regarding that. But just, you know, but there's many different versions of self that you could come in here and be, you know, if you choose, you know, or you'd be like, no, I'm done, because see, part of releasing this space is understanding that the terrain for itself. See, you can't really let it go if you don't really understand the true self. You don't understand the part of you that exists outside of all of the bullshit.
Yeah, and I think what Doug was alluding to, what we were talking about earlier, is, you know, as far as living in parallel universes, there's 100, well, whatever number you want to come up with, 100 different outcomes to, you know, one action.
Yeah.
And
okay.
What is it that determines what you experience? You know.
Because your consciousness is in the one that's happening. You know what I'm saying? Like you're aware of this particular version of it. Like I remember when I first saw that concept, was before I was even studying any of this. But I was watching some show, and they was explaining it, like if a person is playing pool and they strike the cue ball and it hits the 8 ball and the 8 ball goes in the side pocket, and then it shows a million other, well, I was a million, but 50 other versions of the same thing. He strikes it, but it takes 50 different other directions, so to speak. But the only one that's actually real is the one that you did, or where your conscious is at. You see? And I understand it in this way too. So, how can I say? You know how like everything is vibration, everything is moving. So when you're outside of the body, especially in the dream world, see how easy it is to change the scenario up? Or even whether you're trying to change it up or if it just changes. With one person, all of a sudden, you know, your mom turned into your cousin or somebody, or you was in one building, then it turned into something else. That's kind of the same thing. It's so elusive. I'll give you a better example. You know how you see the Buddhas, right? Or you see somebody moving in slow motion, and they're moving in a way, you can set your camera in a way where if a person swings their arms around, you see a whole bunch of arms. You ever see that? Where a person is moving and you see all the other little versions of them? You ever seen that, Doug? So it's like slow motion, but it's like you see all of or you see Michael Jordan going up to dunk, and you see all of the different stages and phases up to him dunking the ball, right? Well, I'll just give you that as a kind of a template, but so it's more so if a person is standing, like you see a lot of this in the Hindu stuff. You see the Hindu deities with all the arms. They got all these arms because it's two-dimensional. It's two-dimensional, but really it's just two arms waving around, right? But all of those arms is kind of showing these different versions of the true self, but the only real thing that's happening is the one that's actually moving its arms. When you're so there's going to always be these different inflections or potential inflections just because of how vibration works. It's not fixed. Like this is not fixed. So whatever you're doing, there's still these other versions or spin-offs of that thing. But the hard body thing is the one where the consciousness is in, where your mind is in, where it's you actually doing the actual movement. If I'm explaining it right, that's a hard one to. There's really only, despite all of the different versions or iterations of a person, or you see the Buddha or Lakshmi swinging her arms around. You see, she got 10 arms on one side and 10 on the other, and they're all moving around. She's really only one thing. She's really only one thing, and that's a science in and of itself too, because that helps people to understand. Don't get confused or don't get caught up in the mysteries of thinking, oh man, so all these other versions of myself. You know what I mean? Like, what is that? And how relevant is that? You know what I mean? We can get sidetracked. We can get sidetracked because based upon the distraction of the illusion anyway. You know what I mean? We're getting away from, again, what this call started about, like the inside versus the outside. So now we starting to get fixated and stuck on what's going on outside of ourselves, or what's all these other versions of me? When it comes to quantum physics, it's saying it's a whole bunch of other versions of me. Those are just, it's almost like you got a drawer full of drawers. But which ones do you got on? Those are the only ones that's really in the game. You know what I mean? That's the best way I can kind of explain that quantum. What'd you say?
That just takes a lot of processing.
Oh yeah, a whole lot of processing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's why I just try to tell people, if nothing else, man. The main thing is you want to keep this stuff simple. That's the other thing too. Is keep this very, very, very simple. Almost like trading. Make it real simple strategy that you repeat over and over and over. Other than that, you'll be all over the place and you realize it. Because I see people, I just looked at my guy. I don't know if I ever sent them to you. His name is Kali. I don't know if you ever seen him on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. YouTube. He as a guy that early on.
He's a warrior looking type of guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he got the beard and that's my guy. Yeah, so he's someone back in 2014. I had showed my I had told somebody about Hidden Colors, and they watched Hidden Colors, and they shared it with him. And then he was like, man, at that time he wasn't nowhere, he wasn't even in the space office. He's like, man, who told you about this shit? I need to meet him. So make a long story short, we ended up he came down to my office. And it was good because I had like the big board and I could go on YouTube or whatever. And I was just kind of helping him understand the general construct, who we really are as a people. And he just took it from there. You know what I mean? And went from there. He got like almost 100,000 followers. Right? Yeah. And I've been on this show before. And but he went in a different. Yeah, because if I use this, I ain't gonna put this part on the. If I put this on my page, because I'm recording this too. But he's off into it's something in that moon You know, our people in that moon, or our people in Anunnaki, they're coming down. The mothership is gonna come and save us. Redemption, like we sinned, we fell because we did all of these things, and now we're paying the price of it, and it's gonna take another 7 more years. You know what I mean, or whatever. So what happens is, what I say keep it simple is, this almost the same thing you were in the church for is really kind of the same thing you're here for true liberation of the soul. And so how does it go from that, understanding that, and hanging your hat on that, to aliens and Anunnaki and, you know what I mean, white people, you know, even though they are who they are, you know, they're Neanderthal, they're rhesus monkey, they have a lot of DNA in them that we don't have, that comes from different species, because that's how they were created. But that's rather, you start getting away from a sensational standpoint. Yeah, a lot of people are curious and want to hear about that shit. But as an individual, that's what are you really going after? You're going after true transformation. You're going after how you get up out of here, a heaven, so to speak, or prana, or chi, or Shangri-La. You know what I mean? Or Shekinah. All these different, whatever system you're in, those terms that's really dealing with you getting out of here, right? That's what you see a lot of in these conscious people, and I understood to stay away from that, to keep the main thing, and keep it simple. Because just like on the cause, like honestly, like see, at a certain point, you don't even have to study nothing no more. You don't. But what happens is, this is how humanity works. It's loops. This is based upon loops. And so it's so easy to get looped into something. The main loop is, of course, reincarnation. But there's other mental loops and patterns and behaviors that we get stuck in. And one of those things is studying knowledge. We start pumping our tires up with just the repetition of studying. We just keep studying more shit. Oh, you know what I mean? Like somebody go, oh, well, yeah, I'm studying the soul code right now. You know what I mean? Or I'm studying this right now. They're like, yeah, that ain't, yeah, okay, but you already understand the soul code for real, whether you know it or not. You already understand it. But what happens, again, we get stuck, and then we just keep on searching for search's sake. We're studying for the sake of just studying. That's the bullshit.
That's the ego.
Yes, absolutely, fam. That's absolutely what it is. Yes, your ego. It's your ego, because you're feeding your own lowly ego, and then you also got it so you can go feed other people and show other people how conscious you are. You know what I mean? That's why I said to Mark, somebody else I know too, and they were like, man, like, you know, I want to be able to really break it down to people. I'm like, that shit don't mean nothing. That is, because it's a gift of mine, that shit don't mean nothing. I already crossed the finish line because I understand this shit. It's just extra that I can share and help people that's really trying to know this to know it. But that shit ain't it. It's not gonna get no crown, no stars in my crown and heaven and all that shit, because I've helped people get out of humanity. That shit, because people don't understand that shit. Like being evangelical with this shit is, that shit don't get you no points as a god. You become a god when you know the shit. You figured this shit out. Being able to articulate it, using all the words and you know, that shit means zero. That shit means it counts as zero toward your godhood. But that you understand it is when you get the score of 100 or the A+ on the test, because you understand it. You know, I told her, I said, yeah, nigga, you don't need to, It's cool if you, but you don't need to break this down to nobody. Because remember, each individual can only resurrect themselves. So you can't truly help nobody no way. You can give them breadcrumbs, and you know what I mean? You give them breadcrumbs and they learn and they start to grow and transform, but that's them doing the transformation. They're doing the work. They're doing the transformation. You just maybe pointed them inward. You know what I mean? Like when I channel Panic, he was like, nigga, look, you already, like, man, you already understand. Like, it ain't, you're beyond me. You're beyond me. You're beyond these teachings. Because we're beyond these teachings. Once we understand them. Like I said, once you learn to tie your shoe, shit, that's just an afterthought. You know, 3 years from then. That shit is nothing, but that shit was you conquer Mount Olympia when you learned how to tie your shoes at that time in your mind. How much of a pinnacle achievement that is at one point in your life too. It don't mean nothing as you move on. And that's what this is. You know what I mean? Once you know, you know what I mean? And yeah, like you said, but you said it, dog. Yeah. That's ego shit. I'm gonna go over here, cause I can do it. I can go and study. What can I go and study that I didn't study? There's probably some things on my list that I'm guessing that I wanted to study deeply to understand. But then once I understood what the true understanding was about, I was like, I don't need to go over there and study that now. I don't need to do that because one, if it's truly esoteric, it's gonna be the same thing. You know, so what am I studying it for now? To tell some people, get on a call and be, oh yeah, you know what I mean? I went over here and got into Sufism real deep. You know, Rosicrucian, the Druid system. Let me break the Druid system down to y'all. You know, like, yeah, it's simple. It's simple. Once you figure this shit out, it's over. You good.
Yeah.
No, I feel you. No, I'm gonna tell you, I feel you and I respect that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with engaging people that's like, yeah, you different, or man, what's up, you know what I mean, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's nothing wrong with that. Because you already know how to put it in perspective. You know what I mean? You already know how to put it in this proper perspective. So yeah, if I can help you and I could tell that they really trying to learn, then yeah, I'll have some conversations with you to help you. But it's not, yeah, let me show them how much I know about Yemen Yah. You know what I mean? Or yeah, any question you ask me, I can answer it. Nah. The only questions I needed the answer was me. I needed answers for my damn self. You ain't gotta be like, people don't understand. It's like, alright, whatever. You know, y'all can look at me as weird as y'all want. I ain't explaining shit.
No, I keep the peace, it get violent. You know I keep a bad one beside me. On that red rum, I'm in red form.
What's good, people? Thanks for checking in. Just for the record, this is not for the religious. This is not for people that are following something. This is not for people that have been controlled or caught up under something, genuine or not. This is not for people that do not put in the work to study to show ourselves approved. You're never going to understand what we talk about on here if you don't put your own work in. Easy.
Look at me shining, she on my body trying to hedge funds. I'm on my square, my head precise, I bleed your headphones.